welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 227 in year 5, and I'm a little late. I am sorry. It has been it has been a week. Right before I'm recording this, I actually, I don't know if anybody here cares about football. It's not a great week for football if you're certain fans because the playoffs have started. But I just got a quote tweet from Dez Bryant, who is a former star receiver in the league. Because I don't know if anybody keeps up with this. I think it's such a stupid issue when men, when their manliness gets called into question because they paint their nails. It was a big thing that's been happening all week because NBA champion Dwayne Wade painted his nails, and all these like sportscasters and other like NFL stars and NBA stars are like, nah, that's not it, bro. And like, oh my God, him painting his nails ruined his legacy. And it's like, it's the fucking idiotic, most insecure bullshit I've ever heard, in my opinion. That's not everybody. And like, well, anyways, Dez quote tweeted one of his former teammates, if I'm not mistaken, and said like, "You'll never catch me painting my nails" or something like that. Let me see, what was it? It never in my lifetime put paint on my fingernails. And I quote tweeted him because I have no problem with this. I put, if women started coming out and saying we're only fucking men who paint their nails, all these dudes would be at the nearest Sephora. It's like a joke. It's a joke tweet. I don't take Twitter seriously. I just throw shit out there, and I'm just like real stupid with it. And he actually quote tweeted me. He was like, "Look, bro, I don't have a problem with people who do what people do with themselves. I'm just not doing it. It's plenty of women in the world who would prefer men not to do what they do." Which is fair. I mean, again, it was a joke comment, but we'll see how Twitter takes it. Some people laughed at it, which I think is fun because, yeah, at this point, you shouldn't take Twitter very serious because it's such a garbage. Oh my God, my mic's falling. It's such a garbage platform now, so I just use it for fun. But anyways, going to the week that I've been having, staying with the sports stuff, I am a Cowboys fan, and they lost in a fucking terrible way. That was not a birthday present I wanted. My birthday was on Monday. I'm old now, and it is just it's been a week, so I've been pretty busy. I did go have my birthday dinner tonight. It's another reason why this podcast is super late, because it's been freezing in my city. I'm not a fan of going out on the roads and stuff when they're icy or like just there's possible bad weather. No point in risking it for a birthday dinner. I can have a birthday dinner a few days later. So that's kind of what happened. This week's just been really busy. Also, if you follow the new channel, I dropped a new video that took me a few days to research and put together. There was this big, which some of you, depending on your age, might actually be interested in that video because it's a popular YouTuber who does beatboxing battles, and he uses comic book characters every once in a while. And he has just like, it's, you know, if you've seen those like superpower beatdown and stuff like that, or just like, you know, Batman fights Deadpool or whatever. Basically, his version of this content that is really popular is, you know, characters having beatbox battles against each other. Well, a lot of stuff came out about him that were some things good, and people are, you know, dogging on him for allegedly, well, actually not allegedly, because he's DM'd, I mean, he's kind of said this publicly, but he spent $50,000 on a AMV music video for that had his cartoon character version of himself being chased by a other cartoon character called Charlie Morningstar, who is from this show called Has Been Hotel on Amazon Prime. And let's just say the ending of the video gets a little spicy. And people are like, what? So if you want to hear all the drama that's going on with that, because there's so much more to it, go check out my latest video on the new channel. So that's something I was doing this week, and I had to get that video out. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I completely forgot about the podcast. I was so just enthralled with making that video and editing it and researching it that it was already Thursday, and I was like, dude, I haven't even read the books. Like, what the heck? And yeah, it's been busy. It's been hella busy. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys. There was a moment. I had a moment of weakness. I was like, should I do the podcast? You know, is the podcast do I need to do it this week? Is it important? Does anybody care if I do the podcast? Because it has been kind of busy. I mean, it's been kind of rough trying to carry the whole thing by myself. Which, it is what it is. I have no problem being consistent. I do consider myself a very consistent person, but I did have that moment. But before recording the podcast today and before the shenanigans happening on Twitter, I noticed one of the videos in the past decided to pop off. It was like one of the podcasts that we talked about. What is his name? John Krasinski, I believe is his name. There was rumors that he would be Batman. That video is like 15,000 views. And I was like, when did that happen? Like, for the longest time, our video has been the, like, Batman in the MCU or the Russo brothers, like, wanting to make a Batman film podcast. And yeah, I just saw that John Krasinski video just, like, popped. And I was like, oh, wow, people are actually watching these things. Which was kind of a nice little boost of confidence there. But anyways, the reason I'm rambling at the start of this podcast is because there's not really much to talk about, y'all. Like, I was doing some research before this, and there hasn't been any much DC news. There's stuff about, like, somebody was cast as Cersei in Creature Commandos. I believe, oh my God, she's the actress in, was she in Eternals? No, I don't think she was in Eternals. She was in some kind of, like, freaking, kind of like, I don't know, like a Games of Thronesy vibe type show, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have it pulled up here because it wasn't really Batman related, so I didn't want to dive too much into it, but there was like that happened. But the biggest Batman news, if it even is considered Batman news, but it is comic books related, is that, or it's a rumor apparently, Scott Snyder returning to DC to develop DC's own Ultimate Universe, whatever that means. It is from Bleeding Cool. Bleeding Cool is somebody that does get things right from time to time. They were the ones that broke the story about Tom King being replaced as Batman. They were also the first ones to break the Black Batman story back in the day before we knew it was going to be Jace. So, Bleeding Cool does have some hits every once in a while. But, yeah, they're old. I don't know anything about Marvel's comics Ultimate Universe. I have no idea, so I don't know what's going to be going on. But it says, and it seems Scott Snyder, Batman Justice League, and showrunner of the DC Metal event to make his own return to DC Comics. This is after setting up many creator-owned projects across Dark Horse, yada yada, nobody cares. And this new DC publishing initiative would involve a new reality for DC Comics characters to play out in. I have seen Scott Snyder's own realities. I've read Death Metal, I've read the Dark Multiverse, and I don't care. I have been on record, and I believe, Clay's been on record with this as well. The one thing Scott Snyder should come back and do is that story that he did in Detective 1000 of the secret, what were they? They were like the mysteries or crimes that have never been solved. I think it was mysteries. And that's what he should do. He should come back and write that. He should write Batman and those characters going after these mysteries that have never been solved. Because that was such an intriguing story, and we've never heard anything from it. And I think that's what he should come back and write. I don't care about him building an alternate reality universe or anything of that sort, because I've seen it. It gets ridiculous, and he just wants to sell toys. Like, that's the vibe I get from it. And I don't care for that. I just want good comic books. And I don't know. I've heard his creator-owned stuff is pretty good. And I was reading one of them back when he was still at DC, and it was good. His own stuff is good. But remember, when you're playing in the sandbox of DC, these characters are already built. They have legacies. They have personalities. And I just wasn't a fan of what Scott Snyder was making, because everything just ended up being Batman. It was, monster truck Batman, dinosaur Batman. And I don't think we need that. We've seen his vision in DC. I think maybe give the reins to somebody else. You don't need to bring Scott Snyder back to create a DC Ultimate Universe, in my opinion. But that's just me. I think I've had my fill of Scott Snyder. I would prefer to see new... And there's so many good writers at DC right now. Like, give them a chance, you know? Like, just keep rolling with the new blood. Why bring out the old blood? If he wants to come back and write a one-off Batman story, cool. Wants to come back and write a one-off Superman story, cool. But him needing to be in charge of something else, I don't think that's necessary. So, yeah, that is the hot rumor that is coming out of DC right now. And yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up. But for the most part, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Luckily, we had the Phantom Hour incident last week, and there's a lot of questions that I need to answer that I didn't get to answer last time, and they took me an hour last time. Granted, there was some story stuff that was in there that I probably did that wasn't covered to make up that full hour. But this is going to be the Answering Your Questions podcast, because I'm going to be answering everything that I didn't answer last time. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. And starting off with Discord. Now, granted, this question is new from Discord. I don't know if it was the same one from last week. But Arwitz says, what are you looking forward to the most with the introduction of the Bat family in the DCU? And to answer that question, I would say, are they going to be a family? You know, what's the dynamic going to be between the family? Because that is all that I really care about. Is I want to see, you know, how Dick Grayson interacts with Batman, how Damian interacts with, you know, freaking Red Hood, how Barbara interacts with Grayson. Like, I want to know what the vibes are going to be, because I don't want a Bat family that are at each other's throats. I want a Bat family that acts like a family, because that is some of the best. Now, if you want to give me, obviously there's probably going to be tension between some of them, obviously, but I mean, I would love to see like the Bat family against the world. You know what I mean? Like, maybe the Justice League isn't a fan of how the Bat family is doing things, and then you have one, like, you know, movie where it's the Bat family against everybody. You know what I mean? Or like you have a big, like, let's just say the Suicide Squad, or a squad like that is going after the Bat family, and the Bat family has to come together and work together to defeat these enemies. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see like, oh my God, Damian is betraying Batman, and oh, he's causing trouble for everybody else, and he's basically looks like a bad guy here, but he's just a teen angst, so we got to let it go. I don't fucking care about that. Yeah, if he's gonna be a little shit, that's fine, but I don't want him like basically being a bad guy. Or same thing with Red Hood. Like, if Red Hood's gonna be an asshole, that's fine. But if he's doing like villainous crap, then I don't want to see it. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping we're not going to get the, like, Grayson that's mad at Batman version. I'm hoping we're going to get a Grayson that's kind of already, like, realized, like, yeah, I don't need to be Batman. I don't want to be Batman, but I respect Batman. You know, he took me in as a kid. He's basically a father to me. And, you know, they just have a good relationship. Like, kind of like the way Batman and Nightwing have a relationship in the comics right now. In Nightwing, I want to see that relationship. That's the one thing I will say I do appreciate of Tom Taylor. Granted, I have not read a Nightwing book in like the last few months. I also think right now he might be, it might have just been the cover. I'm not too sure. I'm not covering Nightwing this week. I'm only covering 2 books in the comics. But I don't know if they're still doing that Beast event, so I don't know if he's a big cat right now or something like that. I don't really know. So, yeah, but I do love the dynamic between Nightwing and Batman. So I'm hoping we get just a good family dynamic, and they're not just like, oh my God, we all hate Batman, because that's really annoying. So moving over to the next questions on YouTube, I'm going to be jumping back between some of these. Moncray says, can you answer my question from last week? And his last week question was, what DC attraction would be the most popular? All these need release forms. The Riddler Escape Room, the Joker Funhouse, the Scarecrow Coaster, Penguin's Iceberg Lounge. Now, I remember covering this one, not in depth in the Phantom Hour, but I was saying that if you're talking about the most popular is going to be the Gambling Lounge. I mean, just go to Las Vegas and you would see how popular Las Vegas is. That would be the Iceberg Lounge. Nobody's going to want to go to an escape room. I mean, the only one that I would see on here that people would care about is going to the escape room, because the worst, you lose some money, that's basically gambling, or you get pied in the face. That might be funny if you go with a bunch of friends, you know what I mean? But Joker's Funhouse, get, traps that spray people with Joker gas. You could just like ruin your life. Like, what kind of Joker gas are we talking about here? There's Joker gas that kills people. And then we have the Scarecrow coaster that sprays fear gas midway through. Your life would be ruined after getting off the roller coaster. Like, those two sound awful. But the gambling one, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just go, it's cold. Oh yeah, because it also says a gaming gambling lounge. It's cold in there. There are places in Vegas where it's like, it is literally the Iceberg Lounge. Like, you have to wear a coat to go in there. Like, they give you like a big old coat and stuff to stay warm. And it's just like an ice bar, which is kind of crazy. So, yeah, I mean, that would 100% be the most popular thing that we got going on here. So, next up, we got Nathan that says, if Grayson ultimately becomes Nightwing, Tim Drake becomes Red Robin, where does that leave Jason and Damian? Well, Jason's Red Hood, like 100% Red Hood. He's not becoming anything else. Like, he is his final form, unless they're going to create a whole new dynamic for him. He's Red Hood. And Damian, canonically, this is true because it's literally happening right now, he becomes Batman. He becomes Batman 666. He takes over for Bruce Wayne in the future. Now, we never learn what happens to Bruce, why Damian took over, why he has the trench coat. If I'm not mistaken, the trench coat, there might have been a story where he got the trench coat, and it's either Gordon's or Alfred's, and it might be Alfred's trench coat. I don't remember, but there's a reason why he wears a trench coat with his bat suit instead of a cape. And there's some symbolism there. I forget what it was. But yeah, so all of these characters are planned out. I think the one person that could evolve that has not evolved is Batgirl. And some people will be like, she's Oracle. But I always hated that because they're like, oh yeah, let's just put her in a box. And she's just, oh, look at me, I'm the computer genius. Like, no, dude, Batgirl's awesome. I would like to see Batgirl become Batwoman. Like, I think that would be really cool. If for whatever reason Batwoman gives up the mantle and she doesn't want to, like, wear it anymore, I think that would be really cool. And then you can have a new Batgirl if you wanted to do that. Because I think, that would be a cool upgrade. But you don't want to get rid of Cassandra Cain, right? But I think if Cassandra Cain maybe, I don't want to say died, because that's like the easiest way to get rid of characters. But I think Cassandra Cain could also evolve. I mean, we're seeing what she's doing in Outsiders, right? She's not doing it for the bat, but why can't she be something else? You know what I mean? Because, like, it's always been weird with Batwoman because she's always been, like, a lot of the time she's anti-Bat family. And it's just like, dude, and, like, Batman's even like, why are you biting my shit? You know what I mean? Like, we're, like, legit family, but, like, you're not part of the Bat family because you're, like, such a bitch at times. Like, what's going on here? Why are you biting our style? So, yeah, I don't know. I think it would be very interesting to see Batgirl. Oh my God, I got a frog in my throat right there. Woo! I think it would be interesting to see Barbara upgrade, because that's the only one I actually think could. Because right now they're trying to make, I guess technically they have, but Spoiler and Cassandra Cain are both Batgirl now. So I definitely do think that Barbara needs some kind of new moniker, which would be interesting. Let's see. I want to make sure that we don't got double. Eduardo de la Cruz on the new episode, or the last episode, says, damn, guess Batman News Weekly now has lost media. But last week's question was, Batmobile lost a will and Joker got who would win? Joker versus Loki, Ra's al Ghul versus Captain America, Brainiac versus Emperor Palpatine. So, but the things that I said, I remember saying these last week. Brainiac, I would assume, it depends on how strong the Force is, right? Could Emperor Palpatine control a fleet of Imperial starships with his Jedi powers? Is he strong enough to do that? Because if he is, then I think he wins. But if he's not, then I think Brainiac could take over all of the Imperial starships, point all their laser blaster buns, or like he could even get the World Destroyer, right? If that, I mean, they blow it up every movie, but you get one of those world destroying devices. I think actually, if I'm trying to remember the sequels, didn't like the actual like starships have those kind of cannons built onto the ships, or am I imagining that? Or did that happen in a game? I don't remember. But like there's like cannons that can blow up, freaking planets or whatever. Just like get some of those, shoot them at the Emperor, and bada bing, bada boom. I would think Brainiac would win that. Ra's al Ghul versus Captain America. I think Ra's al Ghul, here's the thing. Ra's, if they're in the same universe and you're just saying they all coexisted at the same time, Ra's has lived through way more than Captain America has. I think he's a better fighter, and he has the League of Assassins. I think Ra's wins that. And as for Loki versus Joker, I said that it depends on if Joker knows Loki, if he knows anything about him. But I just feel like Loki has so many advantages over the Joker that I would probably give it to Loki just because I know very little about Loki, but I also know that what I've seen from him can be kind of OP. And I think Joker is much like Batman. He would need to learn a lot about people's weaknesses to get the upper hand. So I think that's I would give that one to Loki. But again, I'm not a Loki expert, so I can't really say too much about that one. Let's see. Next up, we got Clay that says, "What Batman film needle drop would make audiences cringe the most? Smash Mouth All Star when Batman gets ready. Final Countdown when the Bat family is running in slow motion to stop a bomb. Walking on Sunshine when Batman gets on Venom and happily takes down baddies easier. AC/DC's Back in Black when Batman returns after thought to be dead. And then Eye of the Tiger when Batman fights Bane." I think if you're talking about cringiness, okay, I think if Batman, look, Walking on Sunshine would be pretty cringe. But when Batman's on Venom and he's fighting people, I think the only way that works is if you shoot that in a cinematic way that plays along with the song very well. But if not, I think it's so easy to be cringe with that song. So I think that could be bad. The worst one is Smash Mouth. And the reason why is, one, you have it Smash Mouth getting ready when Batman's getting ready. Like, there's nothing exciting about that. I mean, just go put Smash Mouth to George Clooney getting ready, and we see the bat nips and all that. Just go, somebody make that compilation, send it to me. But that would be it, You could put Robin getting ready and Batgirl all getting ready to Smash Mouth. Like, it would just be ridiculous. I think that would be the cringiest one because it reminds me of Shrek. You know what I mean? That is such a synonymous song with Shrek that I would think about Shrek during a Batman movie. Like, that's how powerful that song is. So I do not think that would be the cringiest needle drop one for sure. Lastly, we have Jason Todd that says, Jason Todd might have two questions here. What exactly is the demographic for Batman now? Like, is it childish for a grown dad to have Batman bedsheets or Batman underwear? Oh my God. Okay. I think I don't know if I mentioned this in the last podcast, but I went off on this question, man, because, and I told a personal story here too. Unfortunately, I went into super detail on the last one, but, I think it's not cringe. It's not bad for you to have things you like. You should never, we need to get away in society. And it's funny, if you go watch that new video that I made on the channel, on my new channel, a lot of people are shitting on this guy for this video that he paid to get made because they think it's cringy, but they're saying they think it's weird because he's 40. And as society, I think it's so weird that we're trying to move to this progressive area, right? Like, we care about people's pronouns, we care about people's mental health, we care about all this stuff, but we still have stupid shit like what just happened on Twitter with painting the nails, like, oh my God, you're not manly or whatever. If you paint your nails, we have stupid shit like that. And then we also have shaming people for what they like because they're a certain age. And I'm just like, bro, what? No. I think it's so stupid that when you finally get old enough to have money to buy things you would have wanted when you were younger. Now it's just like, oh man, you can't do that. You should, you're too old for that. Like, fuck you, dude. Like, maybe I didn't get to have this as a kid. I want it now because I can afford it. And I'm an adult. Nobody can tell me no. But the personal story I was telling is, and I'll go into like the whole idea of being able to own these kind of things. When as I mentioned at the start of this podcast, it actually ties in pretty well now. Big Cowboys fan, born and raised in Texas. I've been a fan of the Cowboys coming out of the womb. My dad was a Cowboys fan. And so I used to have a lot of, before I started collecting comic book stuff, I had cowboy stuff. Like, that was what I was collecting. I've always been collecting some type of thing. When I was like little, I would collect rocks. And like, so what would happen is I would just start putting stuff on my walls. Like, I had some, when I was younger, we would go to Dallas, and if we took a trip or whatever, my dad would take us to the Dallas Cowboys memorabilia shop or whatever, and like, oh, I want a championship banner, and I would buy a banner. I would buy, like, my favorite player was Deion Sanders. I'd buy a Deion Sanders poster or whatever. And so I would collect this stuff over time. But one of the biggest things that I was buying, and for my nerds out there, I was buying the McFarlane sports figures. So these McFarlane figures, they were making Dallas Cowboys. At the time it was like Tony Romo, but then they would do like the legends, and it would be like Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin. And you could buy these like basically statue figures. They make them right now. Like, McFarlane's making all these figures all the time, but these were like mini statues. They didn't move. You couldn't play with them. You couldn't try to throw the winning touchdown in a game with them. They were just statues. And like, I'm a fan of that. I love figures that don't move. I love just like mini statue stuff. So I really enjoyed these, and I had a bunch of them. I had the variants, like there was like a blue jersey version and a double star version or whatever. So I had all these figures, and they were all on my wall, nicely hung up with a poster in the middle and like the banners over my, it looked like what people would say a man cave looks like now, right? And I had my walls painted to match. Like, I'm very color coordinated, or I try to make things look nice at least, right? Well, one time the girl I was dating at this time comes over to my house, comes in my room, and she's like, "This looks like a kid's room." And I was just like, like, it was such a punch in the dick. And I was just like, oh, but it's the Cowboys, and I'm a big fan. And like, I would love to say that it didn't make me want to rip everything off the walls. And it's so crazy that, they say words don't hurt. It was like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. We know that's all bullshit. Like, words sometimes hurt more than fucking pain. Because, like, you know what? I don't remember getting hit like in the face or in the fucking nuts. Like, I don't know the exact date or whatever back in the day, because you forget pain over time. Unless it was like a traumatic, serious injury, you probably forget every time you got slapped or whatever, or at least a majority of the times that some kind of pain happened to you, right? Because it fades. You forget about it. But words, if they hit deep enough, you remember them forever. And that was one of those things where I was just like, God damn, man. And it was just rough. And I do remember, maybe weeks later, I don't know if I did it while I was still dating her at the time, because this was a girl I just dated for a few months, but, I ended up taking all that stuff down over time. I still own a lot of it. I don't really care for them anymore. Not because of those painful words that I dealt with. No, it's just, I like comic book stuff more. I like the way it looks. I love that there's a bunch of different varieties of art and stuff that I can buy to make a room look better and whatnot. There's just more variety, and I'm like, oh yeah, I love this kind of stuff, anime and whatnot like that. And I will say, anime, comics, and sports kind of clash, they just it looks weird when you have all of them in one room. And I like things to kind of blend well together. And that kind of brings me to my, my statement here is, maybe some of the stuff you buy can look pretty tacky. Like, I'm personally not a fan of like the actual like opposable figures that people buy. Like, those are not for me. Like, I don't care to buy a Batman figure that can move, that can move his arms, feet, legs, fingers. I don't give a shit about any of that. But I know some people that love those things. Um, but as you get older, you can still support your fandom, but there are like people that are super nerds that are making things that look pretty cool. Instead of having the Batman bed sheets where it's like the yellow and blue logo, you can buy yourself like a nice comforter that has the Batman logo sewn into it, like it's stitched into it. Like that still look, you can make a nice room with that kind of stuff, right? Like I think you just gotta upgrade your taste a little bit to like you can blend your taste with your fandom. I think a lot of people maybe you just, I mean, there's nothing wrong with you keeping the same kind of stuff. If you like it, you like it. You do you, all right? You got one life on this planet. You fucking like what you want to like. But I'm just saying, if you want to blend in the older, your older self into this new stuff, you can be a nerd and still be like fashionable. You can like interior design that shit and make it look really cool, because there are people out there that want to do that. They want to have a nice looking house, but like there's like hints of nerdy stuff in it, and it doesn't look like, as that girl told me one time, a child's room. And also Batman underwear, dude, yeah, you could probably look. There's two people that are gonna look really good in Batman underwear. People that are funny. Like, dude, if you're a funny guy, you're rocking a dad bod and you just like fucking rip the pants off and you're rocking Batman underwear, that's probably gonna be the fucking funniest thing that people are gonna think. If you can own it, dude, if you can own rocking Batman underwear, go for it, because then you're just going to be all the power to you. And then if you got like a rockin' chiseled body where you look like Batman, you're like, damn, that bitch could be Batman, and you're wearing Batman underwear, dude, money. Like nobody's going to give a shit. They're going to be like, damn. Granted, there will be some people out there that are like, oh, what? This guy really? I mean, you might be a deal breaker, but I think there's a lot more women out there that would find it hilarious and sexy than being like, oh my God, this is a deal breaker, I'm leaving. You know what I mean? Or men, men could be the same thing. I don't know. I'm not going to judge. Whatever you're into, I think there are people out there that would absolutely love it. You know what I mean? I think you see, like, if you see Jack Black in Batman underwear, people are going to fucking freak out and love that. You know what I mean? It's going to be amazing. Same thing. You see Ryan Gosling in Batman underwear, people are going to lose their fucking shit. So like that kind of thing, there is not like, the demographic doesn't matter. I think as you get older, I think you can just make your taste look a little bit more adult, but you don't need to give up being a nerd. Like I will always fight for people being nerds and being into your interests. As long as your interests are not hurting somebody or not, kind of crossing any kind of weird laws and lines, fucking you do you, man. You got one life in this world. Fucking live it the way you want to. Let's see. I think I covered everything from last week. So let's move over to the stuff that we have on the channel. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything else. Okay, let's see. Tiny Beauty says, my son wants to know when Clay is making his return. What should I tell him? Oh, man. Dude, I wish I could tell you, little one. I don't know when Clay is going to return. I think this is, a part of life. Right now, and this is not like, oh, Clay's out of here forever. It just, unfortunately, there are times in life when things just don't go the way you want to go. Clay he moved away, and, he's got a family of his own. He's got to think of his family first, got to provide for that family, just like Batman's got to provide for Gotham. And we got to work things out. Clay is currently trying to figure things out, and I also have a very busy schedule myself. So, like, if Clay was off only on weekends, that would be really hard for me. And trying to find new jobs and stuff like that, it's really hard to work around that. And yeah, it's just really tough. Clay is always welcome back. My main thing is, me and Clay have talked about this. I've told him if he has time, I would love for him to make some content. I think that would be great, so he can keep a presence on the channel. But he doesn't have time, and that's one unfortunate thing about this whole thing. But hopefully, if he's able to get some time in the future, he could maybe make some content. That would be fantastic, because that would be helping out the channel. People can still hear Clay's voice and be able to do that. And I'll carry on the podcast for now until he's able to get a job to where it works with both of us. But until then, I'm your boy. I'm holding it down. I hope that I think Tiny Beauty was the one that said that their son said that they don't like my views sometimes, or that I'm maybe a little negative or something like that. So I'm sorry if maybe Clay was the more positive one on the podcast, but I'm gonna keep the thing going. I'm gonna be consistent here for you, so we got something to listen to every week. Unless barring something crazy happens, if for whatever reason I wouldn't be able to continue the podcast, I would definitely let you guys know in the future. But that's not something I want to do or even think about right now. So that's what's going on. But hopefully Clay will be returning in the future. But right now we're kind of just keeping on. That's what you got to do sometimes, Eduardo de la Cruz, I already said that one. Let's see. Jason Todd again. So how don't they know Dick and Barb are Nightwing and Batgirl? P.S. Could you quickly tell me what you said about... Well, I already did that. How do they not know Dick and Barb are Nightwing and Batgirl? Who's they? Like, who would not know that they're... I mean, you got to give me a little bit more emphasis. Like, how do, like, Gotham not know? How... I don't understand. Are we going, like, off of Nightwing? Because Nightwing revealed, like, he had $1 billion or something like that? You got to get there. I'm missing some context there. So feel free to clarify that next week. I already answered Moncray's. Let's see. Answered Moncray's. And last one we got from Alexis Barrera that says, how come there is no rapist villain in Batman or in comics in general? Real people like this exist, and I feel like it's a crime that is important to address. I agree with you. There are actually some comments here that say, Eduardo de la Cruz said, I kind of wonder this too. I like watching Law and Order SVU because the criminal downfall is even more satisfying. But I think the answer is that Batman leaves those creeps to the GCPD. Fair. That's a fair assessment. And then Jason Todd says, Matt, burp again. Mass murder is okay, but that assault, oh my God, burp. But that assault is where they draw the line. So here's the thing. This is really unfortunate too. And I am going to do a video on this in my future. Just expect, again, if you're not subscribed to the new channel, there's going to be a lot of content there. But I'm going to be doing a video on this in the future. I don't know when this is going to drop. But in society, it's so weird what people are okay with and what people are not okay with. We are, at least here in America, we are so okay with violence. Violence is awesome. We think it's the greatest thing ever. And when mass murders or mass, whatever happen, bad things, we're just like, oh no, it's terrible. And then it's back to business because we're so desensitized to violence that we don't mind. That can be everything. We could have characters that are mass murderers and some people like them. Joker has so many fans. So many people love Joker. It's just insane. But when it comes to stuff like sexual assault, I think it's a little too real for a lot of people, and it's such a taboo subject when it comes to like comics, because here's the thing. Sex and comics are always going to be associated to kids. They're always going to be associated to kids, which is still maddening to think about, that we're totally cool with kids seeing violence all the time. But when it comes to sex, whether that be criminal, pleasurable, whatever, it's fucking taboo. It's just like, no, we gotta protect the children. They can't learn about boobies and wieners. And it's stupid. It's so dumb to me. Because like, dude, that's how we're fucking born. You know what I mean? Like, that is human nature. But when it comes to like villains and stuff like that, DC has done stories like that. I believe there was the most like, what is the word? Infamous story is, I believe, in Identity Crisis, where, spoiler alert, I'm trying to remember the characters, because basically one of the wives of a superhero is raped by Dr. Light, if I'm not mistaken. And what ends up happening is there's a group of superheroes that find this out, and I believe they go and beat the shit out of Dr. Light. And what ends up happening is the reason why it's called Identity Crisis is because we find out that a lot of people had their minds wiped. And I think the guy's wife, because I'm forgetting who it is. It's not Plastic Man. I think it's Elongated Man's wife. They might have wiped her brain too. Or does she kill herself? I have not read that story in so long. But the big thing that happens in that story is Batman also gets his mind wiped because he walks in on them, I think, beating the shit out of Dr. Light. I could be missing this whole thing, but there is something that Batman walks into that he obviously would disagree with. So they wipe his mind, and that's why it's called Identity Crisis. Because there's a bunch of superheroes or like basically it was a story where the good guys did something bad in the form of like they were trying to get justice for something else, right? Oh, I think if I'm remembering the story, it might have been they wiped um Dr. Light's mind because of what he did. And I don't know if they wiped it like so much to where he's not a villain. It's been so long. Somebody can correct me if they know that story. But yeah, that happened in there. And if I'm not mistaken, a lot of people were pissed about it. I have no problem with reading those kind of stories. I will say DC prefers to do the thing of implied assault, which is kind of lame. A lot of people think that Joker assaults Barbara. That is one of the biggest things. It's not just that he shot her in her own house, which would be traumatic enough, right? Some people believe that Joker assaulted her. Like that's, because I think he takes photos of her in her underwear or something, right? So I think a lot of people think that's implied. This is from The Killing Joke, by the way, if nobody knows what I'm talking about. So a lot of people talk about that and they think, oh, that book's disgusting or whatever. And like, I never really thought of the Joker as somebody that would do something like that. Like genuinely, I was like, I never thought about that once because I feel like the Joker doesn't really get off on shit like that. I think he just likes chaos. And I never really viewed his character that way. Then I read Joker by, I think Eber who's the artist, but I don't know if it's written by Azzarello. It might be. But in that book, Joker does one of the most fucked up things I've ever seen. And when one of his goons betrays him, which is like the main character of the story, betrays him, he takes his woman and like basically rapes her in his car. And then he doesn't kill the guy. And he's like, did you learn your lesson? And like, it's super fucked. It's super fucked. So you see that in comics, but it might be, sadly, it might be a crime that's so common that you don't see it. Like, there's no point in making a villain about it. That might be one of those things. So, unfortunately, I do think that, and it's also, I feel like it's also implied that a lot of villains would probably also be that. You know what I mean? Because you don't see a lot of villains coming out and being like, what did you do to that woman? Kill that man. You know what I mean? Maybe you could see more of that. I think there was stuff like that, maybe like in The Walking Dead. I think there was some shit like that. Like, I think one of the characters did that, and then maybe they killed that guy because he did that. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, you see a lot of the justice in those, like, post-apocalyptic movies when they have characters like that. But, yeah, I mean, wouldn't be surprised if they made characters like that. But I think it's also, like, it's so easy to show violence. How do you go about showing that? You know what I mean? How do you show that villainous act? Are you going to have a lot of panels that are very uncomfortable? Which it might add to the story. Because, again, there are stories that are graphic. And it's just it makes the story worse. Makes you hate the character more. And maybe that's what some people would go for. But it also goes into, does the artist want to draw that? Because depending on how you draw it, you might be known for that. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of variables when you come to talk about something like that. But, again, I do find it so weird that is so taboo. But we're totally cool with seeing somebody get their face blown off with a shotgun. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It blows my mind with what we're okay with in society. But, that's kind of what happens. But I believe that is all the questions that we have for this week. If I missed any, my apologies. I was having to go between two different podcast comment sections. This week, we only got 2 books, ladies and gentlemen. There are a few things that came out. If I'm not mistaken, there was a new World's Finest. There was also a new Nightwing. Wonder Woman 5 also came out. I'm like 2 or 3 issues behind on Wonder Woman. I would cover that this week because I have been enjoying what I have read. but since I'm behind, I don't want to be skipping issues. It's also kind of hard to I don't have time to catch up on a lot of these books that I wish I could cover on the podcast, because I'm like 3 or 4 issues behind Nightwing, it feels like. Same thing with World's Finest. But this week we're going to be covering Catwoman and Operation Joker. Operation Joker, I covered this last podcast if I'm not mistaken. This book is so consistent. They make them so fast. It's nuts. That it's crazy to have one every week, it feels like. But basically, Operation Joker was pretty cool because basically Joker gives up Bruce, and he's like, you know what? It's probably best that he lives with Alfred, and he'll probably grow up to be a better Batman. And Alfred kind of also picks up on this, and he's like, I think this is Master Bruce. And he ends up taking Bruce down to the Batcave. And while this is going on, Joker's all like, oh yeah, he's basically going home and walking home without Bruce. And when he gets home, he's like, is this really my apartment? And he steps on one of those books that play sounds, and he shoots it because it's this damn racket. And he's like, I missed that damn kid. And he gets a rocket launcher, and he's gonna go get Bruce back from Alfred. And he runs into Alfred on the street with Bruce. And he's like, oh, what the hell? And he's like, oh, I'm glad I found you. I was going to drop him off to you because he's been crying for the last, hours or whatever. Because turns out that, Alfred is trying to see if he can, unlock Master Bruce's memories. And when he took him down to the Batcave, there was all of these posters of Joker because Batman was working on a crime, kind of crime collage, and it had Joker there. And Bruce was like, Papa, you know what I mean? And so that's why he's crying, because he missed his dad. So we saw this was basically an issue of both, father, son missing each other. And I thought it was pretty interesting. But Joker at the end of it says, you got to remember, I'm not your dad. I'm going to be your greatest villain ever. And they kind of end it with a hug. And I feel like you could have ended the story there. But this has got to go on, right? There's got to be a conclusion to Bruce going back to normal, but it ends with a hug, and it just says end of chapter, 15. And yeah, it was just a cute little story. Again, these books are never anything too crazy. They're very fast reads, which is thank you, because I need some of these. But yeah, it was just a cute little story. Again, this is, feel like if you're a father, you would probably relate to this a lot. Because it's just, a father. It's somebody learning to be a father, I feel like. So, yeah, that was kind of Joker, chapter 15 of Operation Joker. And then we got Catwoman, y'all. Here's the thing. This issue, it wasn't that bad, but it also wasn't great. And it's so weird because, I understand Catwoman has 6 more lives, or, this whole story is called 9 lives. And basically, what's dumb about this story is Selina is just putting her life in jeopardy for no reason. There's obviously a reason, right? In this thing, she's going to a nuclear power plant. Or I should say a nuclear disaster zone. And if you go there automatically, you automatically get cancer and your teeth start falling out and your skin starts boiling. It's a super radioactive, it's like Chernobyl, I guess, but Chernobyl on steroids. And, she's apparently, with what's going on here and what they're creating or what they were trying to create or whatever, it created this gem underground that is super amazing or super rare or whatever. I don't know. She talks about how it looks so beautiful, but when she touches it, it burns her hands off, which is crazy. And she gets a sample of it, and she's trying to run out. Of course, the Russians are showing up to try to fight her or whatever. And she's about to die. She was like, I didn't think this through. Her teeth are starting to fall out. Her skin is starting to boil. And while she's doing all this, I'm like, why? You know what I mean? What it feels like is she is throwing caution to the wind, but we are not getting a Selina that is calculated and would go into this with a super plan. It's like she's just going through the front door and she's like, I can't die, so fuck it. And it's dumb because what we've seen is she can die very easily. We had that one issue where she got shocked and lost a life. Like, that was like really dumb, you know? But this one, she's running through this super radioactive nuclear power plant. Her skin is boiling off, and it's like nonchalant. Like, it's crazy. But we also, like, I don't know what's happening here because as her whole face is falling off, well, first of all, here's something I gotta complain about with the writing because there's one point in here where Selena runs into a bunch of wolves, like radioactive wolves that are basically it's like zombie wolves, and she's having this inner monologue, and this inner monologue talks like she's talking to the audience. And I think writers, I hate when writers do this. I feel like a lot of writers forget that a character's inner monologue is the character talking to themselves. It's your inner thoughts, your brain, right? Teenie Howard writes Selena's inner thoughts like she's talking to people. Now, here's the thing. If she was writing a journal, I could understand Teenie Howard writing this way. But it's not a journal. Because usually the way they kind of like, and I think King's done this before, the way you showcase that it is a journal is the, not the dialogue boxes, the inner monologue boxes are on a piece of paper. And it's usually like the stuff is written out. And so I'm like, okay, it's in a journal. Like, that makes sense. I get that. This is not the case. This is the typical, like, Selena's inner monologue box. And when she's fighting these dogs, she was like, just to be clear, or what does she say? What does she say? Because it's like something ridiculous. Like, it's like she feels like she's going to get canceled on the internet. Let's see. What does she say? I want to be clear before this becomes anything. I like dogs. Normal dogs, not radioactive dogs, and like something along those lines. And I'm like, these are your inner thoughts, Selena. Why? You can think whatever the fuck you want to think in your brain. Why would it become a thing? Do you have other people in your brain that would try to cancel you? You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. Like, it's just something stupid that doesn't need to be written. Like, this is your inner monologue. And I feel like Teenie Howard is writing for the reader and not writing as Selena. I think this is a huge issue. And so I think that's kind of dumb. Anyways, fast forward. Catwoman is dying. Like I said, her skin's falling off. Her teeth are coming out. And she's basically dying. She's like, they're shooting at her. She goes into this like bunker thing. And they're going to blow it up. They're like, we need dynamite. She can't get out of there. And there's a radioactive cat inside of this thing, and it's talking to Selena. And Selena's like, "Who are you? Like, are you a hallucination? Like, what's going on here?" There's this radioactive cat has a silhouette of like, it reminds me of like a sphinx, like the old Egyptian statues, kind of that vibe. And this person is like, "I'm a god," and Selena's like, "Oh, you got to be like in my head, right? My imagination." She's like, Why would you think that? Why can you not think that I'm a super powerful being? I'm a force that is eternal, and like I can grant rebirth and all this kind of shit. So basically, she's talking to this like kind of deity, and this deity is saying that I love what you're doing. You can't die here. Keep going. So Selena fights back, and this rebirth. It kind of seems like this character that's giving her all these lives can give her infinite lives if they wanted to, which I think is really weird. But anyways, Selena gets away from everybody. She's running away. She's dying. And Superman shows up because this deity said that help was on their way. And so, Superman being Superman, he's able to hear Selena. He's able to know that, like, she's in trouble. So he flies out here, and she's like, he's like, "Yo, I need to get you to a hospital." And she's like, "No, don't worry. I'm going to be fine." He's like, "Are you sure?" And he was like, "Because you seem like you're in pain or whatever." She's like, "Look, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to be good. Like, I already know what's going to happen." And she gave him this radioactive treasure that she found. Like I said, this thing that burned her hand off. And she was like, here's the sample, because apparently the Justice League didn't want to mess with this because I guess it's like on international, just sovereign land, whatever. I don't know why the Justice League can't do it. But she told Superman, here's the sample because of whatever this thing is, and please go destroy that area so nobody else goes in there ever again. So, some kind of heart from Selina here. Like, she did something good so nobody else ever has to get hurt. I don't know what this sample was going to be. They kind of like give you all this mumbo jumbo, or Teenie Howard says like, oh, it does this and yada, yada, yada. I don't remember reading a part that says like, this could cure cancer, because it seemed like it gave people cancer. So I'm like, why would you want that? But, scientists are weird. Scientists want all the crazy shit to see if they can, change it into something else. And you know what? That's, let the scientists do that. But anyways, Superman gets his sample. And Selina is she looks like a zombie, dude. Like, she's starting to look like one of the things from The Last of Us. You know what I mean? With the spores all on her face and stuff. That's kind of how she's got the kind of vibe. And then Superman and her are just sitting on a rock overlooking a lake. And she's like, if she says that she's tired. And, Superman is like, it's okay, you can rest now. And, like, this panel would have been fantastic if Selina was actually going to die. Like, had Teenie Howard, like, if DC was like, hey, we want to kill Selina, we're going to give you the honors to have Selina die at your hands. This would have been a fantastic way for Selina to die. I will 100% admit that. Because, granted, I would have preferred her do something a little bit more interesting, or like something that would really have an effect on the world. You know what I mean? I don't know if this magical thing is going to have any effect, but they should have emphasized that a little bit more if that was going to be the case. But obviously, this is part 3 of like 9, I guess, because there's 9 lives. I don't really know. But yeah, this would have been a great way for Selina to die, to be honest, because it's like, it feels like Breaking Bad. Honestly, when that one guy dies, the enforcer dude, if you haven't seen it by now, that's on you. The show's been out for like 10 years. But anyways, I think like this would have been a fantastic death for Selina. Unfortunately, it's just in a story where she can die probably infinity times. You know what I mean? And so it sucks. It was a good ending that doesn't matter. And, there's no stakes to this book, and it's unfortunate, And that's why I said this book wasn't terrible, but I also don't care. I'm in that mindset with the current Batman and Catwoman run. I don't care. This is an interesting concept. It's a little silly with the 9 lives, as I mentioned. But I just feel like Howard doesn't know how to write Selina, and it's really annoying. But the way this ended, I think, was fantastic. And it adds more to Superman being there, because Superman is he gives off the vibe that he's immortal. And so he's going to see humans die over and over. And this is one of his friends. So, like, it would have been so powerful, And it would have been interesting, too. Like, if Selina would have died here, right? Like, officially, Superman's got to tell Bruce that he was like, she didn't die alone. I was there for her. Like, that would be fucking good shit. That'd be good shit. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, missed opportunity here. And yeah, Granted, I think, Catwoman fans and Batman fans and everybody want our heroes to die in a nice way, right? Granted, the heroic deaths are always cool, but unfortunately in comics, they're nothing, right? Like, they just die, and they come back. We'll bring them back with the Lazarus Pit or whatever, Lazarus Juice, Lazarus Capri Sun, whatever we need to bring them back, we'll invent it. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was kind of, it was a cool ending, but, in a nothing story, which is unfortunate. But that is everything, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have any more books. Like I said, I'm trying to keep up with stuff. I am going to try to keep... I'm hoping next week goes a little bit better. Because like I said, there was a moment here when I was just like, I don't know if I want to do the podcast. But I'm hoping to get ahead on a lot of things. This week was just kind of crazy. So many things happening. But that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you. Again, if you haven't seen the new channel, go check it out. Just type in Juice from the Box in the search bar on YouTube. Go check it out. Got some interesting videos over there. But that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I am Juice Wayne, and remember, Batman is awesome. Batman!